Hey everyone, I am beyond thrilled to have one of my friends here with me today to join us. Her name is Lila Smith, and she is an oracle and an alchemist for intentional communication, and she's the creator of Say Things Better. Hi, Lila.
Hi, Jennifer. I don't know that I've ever been introduced as an oracle or an alchemist until this very day. And now it's happened, and here we are.
Well, that's how gifted you are at what you do.
Thank you. Well, you would know. You've worked with me, I think, more than any other, like, one client in the last month.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. For, like, singles. Well, maybe it's not the last month. I'm not great with, like, time. It feels like a month.
Yeah, I mean, well, I can tell you from the work that we did just in a few weeks together, I experienced quantum leap growth. So thank you.
Wow. Thank you. I
You
know you
are,
know all about quantum leaps and leaping and having faith, taking action, being guided and going with the guides.
that is in my zone of genius, yes.
Yeah. Just have to be careful about what guides, right? We always have to be careful about what guides we listen to because there are a lot of people posing as gurus or even like calling themselves gurus. It's like in their title, guru of your life or whatever people say about themselves.
It's true. What you said is actually important there because, I mean, it is beneficial for us to reach out to support from others and to work with other people, but ultimately we still have to trust what our inner guidance is telling us, right?
Yeah.
And not give our power away to someone else.
Yeah. Well, the voices that resonate with us, I think that the voices that resonate with us, they do when they're supposed to, and they tell us pretty loud and clear what we're supposed to be doing when it feels good to us. Because somebody can say something that makes you feel, I don't know, less than, and maybe then that's motivating for some people that they feel that they have something to make up for, or someone else is doing something better. But if it doesn't feel right, then it's probably the wrong path, right? I mean, you're the guide that I would ask about intuition and using what your feelings are telling you.
Yeah, it is all about how we feel, and we usually get that gut feeling, when something isn't right, but a lot of
Yeah,
people
I
question
did.
that. Yeah.
Oh, I did. I mean, I did for a very long time, especially because on paper my life looked really awesome. And it had a lot of the things, a lot of the check boxes were checked. So it looked like I was having the life I was supposed to have. And so my feelings must be wrong, right? No, like my feelings were so right that there was more for me. My feelings were right that I was in the wrong place, the wrong everything. And it took a lot. It took a lot of other voices for me to hear before I started listening to my own. But if I really look back, I knew things weren't right for a long time before I moved on, before I changed everything.
Yeah, so tell us more about that. How did you get from where you were to where you are today?
It was a lot of ignoring myself. It took some time. It was a lot of ignoring myself. It was a lot of ignoring the voices in my head that were telling me, this isn't right, you're destined for more. And I kept ignoring it and stayed in one place. And I stayed at this company where I was the director of e-commerce and communications at a company, and I was there for 3 years. And it was okay. I mean, I was using creativity, I was managing people, I was using business sense and making strong decisions. So that part of me was active. And when I was also acting, that part of me felt good. The creative, the performer, the person who in some way persuades or pulls people in with communication. So my life was kind of adding up with all these different pieces to something that should have felt good because it all adds up, right? I've got the creativity and I've got the strategy. I've got the performance and I've got the development of other people. Even if you looked at my top 5 strengths, I was using all of them, but not all at once, not like I am right now. And that was the difference. So I talked to Kristen Sherry. I had met her on LinkedIn. You know her. She was in the Say Things Better Mastermind.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she had created UMAP, which was not just the strengths, not just that one assessment, although it's a big part of it, but this whole system of looking at yourself and taking the things that you feel about yourself or that you kind of have always known but didn't realize were positive things or how to use them. And she put them into this one page thing where all of the parts of me exist, not just as tick marks on a piece of paper, but as a celebration of everything I could bring to the world. And I had no idea. I had no idea that if you take the little pieces of me and put them together and like mush them into a Lila ball, that ball can glow and grow.
A Lila ball.
Yeah, and I could like throw it to others and see if they catch it.
It's sparkly.
Yes, it's definitely sparkly. It's probably a head of lettuce. A sparkly head of lettuce.
Lettuce is pretty great, so.
Yeah. Lettuce is so great. It's so hydrating and crisp. It was something that I kind of had known, that I wasn't fulfilled, but I couldn't tell why, because it looked like everything was matching up. But one of the things that she showed me was that there were some really clear places in my life where not only was I not using all of my strengths at once, but my values were being kind of trampled on in a lot of ways, mostly by myself, by not giving myself the right to claim them and the right to say, this is important to me. These using my creativity, finding community, fun, these things are important to me. And being able to say, that actually does fit somewhere. It just didn't fit where I was. The things that I valued were not fitting together, and they weren't fitting together at the same time that my strengths were fitting together. So when I learned all this about myself, and that there were such things as burnout skills, stuff that I was good at, but I didn't like doing it. It was sapping my energy. When I focused my time on my preferred skills, things that she pointed out to me, I always just thought that it was something I just didn't like doing those things, or I wasn't very good at it, but like I was good at it. Like I can do something like write a proposal or create an invoice, but God, I hate it. So I end up like putting it off, and then I tell myself stories like, well, you have no place in business if you can't do something like put together a proposal. It's not that I can't, I just don't like doing that kind of work. So when she showed me this, it was very validating. It was very validating of who I am. It was validating of the work that I could be doing if only I took all of the pieces of my map and found the place where they met in the middle. And that was like my heart center. And now that's where I am. It took somebody to say, and it wasn't just her. It was people in my LinkedIn community who said, hey, you're really good at putting things into words. It's like you took the words right out of my mouth. You're the queen of communication. These are things that people had said to me over and over and over again. You know, like if you have a pan, like someone's hitting you in the face with a frying pan.
Yeah, it's a sign. It's a sign from the universe going, hey, knock, knock, you're meant to do this.
I didn't even know I had a pan.
Yeah.
I needed like 100,000, 5,000 people on LinkedIn to tell me what it was that I kind of had felt. But I needed to hear it from other people. So the signs that guided me came from the voices of people who got to know me, came from the voice of Kristen Sherry, whose program, UMAP, was created for people like me to be able to say, not only do I have a feeling about this, but I can prove it. Here are all of these tried and true ways of showing you who you are. And I didn't even know. I walked around with my story for so long, not seeing how my own pieces fit together, when it was so easy for me to see everybody else's pieces and give them advice and say, oh, well, you could just take this piece of your story and that piece of your story and tell this one new story together, right? It's so obvious. but it wasn't obvious to them, and mine wasn't obvious to me. So it's another thing to think about, just that we can be really good at giving advice to other people, but that's because we hear our own voice as objective. When we hear our own voice as subjective, it's really easy to ignore it. And I did for a really long time.
I can relate to what you're saying. I mean, I knew I was in a different career a few years ago, and it took me probably almost 2 years before I finally stopped ignoring it. And like many people, it took a tragedy. You know, it took a significant event for me to kind of shake myself awake to go, okay, you can't keep ignoring, you know, what the inevitable is. So, but yeah, to your point, I mean, most of us do that. We're a lot more critical of ourselves, and we're really good at giving other people advice.
Yeah,
but not taking our own.
Really resonates. You said that you had like a traumatic event. I didn't have one. And maybe if I had, like, I mean, not that there aren't tragedies. There were tragedies, you know, there were hard times, things I went through in my life, but I didn't see it as this one trauma that was going to wake me up. So I just kept going, having this feeling. I didn't have a thing that happened.
Which is great that you recognize that feeling, you know, that and that you had the courage to make those changes and to kind of, you know, I mean, I want to say rediscover yourself, right? But really what you were saying earlier, affirm what you kind of already knew. I think it's amazing that
I just wish it hadn't taken all of that. Like, I wish that if I could go back, and I know you're not supposed to have regrets, right? But look at what I'm doing now. And I feel like I'm making such a difference. I feel so totally powerful and aligned and full of joy. And I mean every day. I want to go back and save that person who ended up feeling lost, who ended up feeling insecure, who ended up feeling just so negatively about my own life all the time, and then feeling ungrateful, right? Because look at all these blessings that I have, and look at what a great life I have, and how can I be ungrateful? And I have positivity as one of my top 5 strengths too.
You know that you can't, you know, you can't go back to her, right? And every experience is important because it does shape who we are. But where you are now, you're doing that with so many people.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's part of why I feel like I have to.
Yeah, I mean,
I can see it. I can see other people. Yeah. I feel a sense of urgency when I see somebody else. So there's a friend that I have who was referred to me by somebody else on LinkedIn. And my friend who had referred her had said, this person's about to give up and go and try to do something else, or leave the platform, or leave this, like, whatever, you know, change everything, basically just quit, whatever it was. And I was like, but that person's so awesome. Doesn't she know how awesome she is? And my friend was like, no, I don't think she does. Why don't you go tell her? And I was like, I'll tell her right now. Give me her phone number. I got on the phone. I was like texting her. I was like, I know it's late. I know that I just got your phone number. By the way, it's Lila Smith. But could you talk to me? Can you get on the phone with me? I have to talk to you right away. I'm like, I feel this burning sense of urgency when I see something special in somebody and it's just sitting on the shelf for them and they're about to let it go. I just feel pulled so strongly to help them. And I think part of it is because there were pieces of me that were really special, that were sitting on the shelf for years collecting dust. And it was feeling bad, and I kept pushing it off to the side like it couldn't be that bad, right?
Oh my gosh, so beautifully said. I mean, you really couldn't have described that.
We probably have felt the same thing.
Absolutely.
Different times in our lives, but we probably have felt that same thing. And I think there are a lot of people who have felt that too.
Yeah,
just that something is off feeling.
Absolutely. And a lot of people ignore it for a long time, like, you know, I did, and you had that feeling for a while too. What is tragic is that some people live their entire lives being comfortably unhappy, thinking that they have to settle for less than what's on their heart, you know. And I know I say this a lot, but it's because I believe it so strongly. It's that, God doesn't put dreams on our hearts that aren't meant to be achieved, but so many of us, or, so many people just feel like they have to live within those boxes that, success, or the definition of success is accomplishing these things, the big job, the house, the this and that. And if you don't feel good after that, well, then that's just kind of what you get.
I mean, I had the goals, not just because I wanted them, but because I saw other people having them, and I would envision myself in what I expected that their life must be like, because I saw it on social media. And how could I be wrong?
Right? Yes, because we should believe everything we see on social media.
You should if I post it.
Well, me too, but
yeah, I think that we get into the comparison game, seeing what we think other people's lives look like, and we create dreams for ourselves around those perceptions. Well, wouldn't my life be great if I had what I think that person has? But one, they probably don't have exactly what we're imagining, because there's no way we can be in their life, be in their head, or really understand the full scope of somebody else's life. But two, even if we get it, that doesn't mean that it would be like that for us, or that it's meant to be.
it's so true.
If I have kids, then I'll be fulfilled. If I get a bigger job, if I get a higher salary, then I'll be fulfilled. If I get a bigger role, if I work with a bigger theater company, and I kept looking for what was next, what was the bigger, better thing where I was. Like, what was step 2 of this ladder? It wasn't even the right ladder. It was just the totally wrong place to be. So looking up and trying to move forward and move up that ladder where I was, it would never have felt right. It just would never have felt right. And I needed to be confronted with a lot of signs all at once. And oh gosh, Jennifer, it wasn't even just the people who were saying things to me about what I should be doing professionally. It was the people that I just felt good with. I kept having these conversations with people who would make me feel inspired to create something, or to do something, or to start something of my own, because they were doing it. A lot of the entrepreneurial community that you see on LinkedIn. So when I felt that, oh, this feels good. I don't know what it is about this, but it feels good. Or these people feel like my people. Then that was something I could have listened to earlier, but I eventually did. And when I realized that so many of them were local to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I moved here. I eventually just got up and came here because I had this community here that I had to be around to feel as good as I do right now, and to be able to accomplish the kinds of things that I am. Not even here. I'm not even here all that often. Here, I mean in Dallas. But I'm traveling a lot. But you need the right launch pad to take off from, or you won't end up in the right place. So even though I traveled to Luxembourg and London and Dublin and Lisbon and Geneva and Sofia and all of these places, I started with my feet firmly planted in a place that felt right. And then I took a jump onto the launch pad of my community that was here, and they were all like, here you go. And they lifted me up and tossed me forward right to where I'm supposed to be. I just had to trust it.
And that's key, is trust, right? And trust that even though, you don't see the whole path ahead, that there is one.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is take the first step forward, and then another one will appear, and another one.
I'm not a brave person. I'm not a person who leaps. I had to see a lot of ladder rungs before I would even put my foot on it. I've got strategic in my top 5, so I'm able to make those paths quickly. I made the decision to move here really, really fast. I came here, I was visiting, I met some people, I had some interviews for jobs and stuff. And it was the people here, it was the area, it was the way that I felt. I knew I would have to come here eventually. But the night that I decided to move, I had just moved out of an apartment that I had shared with my husband. I went to my mother's house to go and, be by myself and get some work done and see what was what. And I was in that house, by myself for, I think maybe like half an hour. The movers had come and put all my stuff down, and I was kind of like feeling the heaviness and the bigness of what had just changed for me. And I thought, well, I'll fix the feeling by building momentum. Like, I know I feel heavy. I know this feels wrong. But maybe if I just get started and I dig in. So I opened, some boxes and the suitcase, and I went to go and hang a dress up in my closet that had been my closet as a kid. And I put this dress in the closet, and I just felt like I was building the wrong house, or unpacking somebody else's clothes, or investing my money into someone else's account. It just felt that distinctly wrong. And I think the whole move and the whole change in my life and everything had been its own kind of momentum. And that had gotten me to where I was. But where I was in that moment was just so totally by myself, because I felt like I'm the only one in the wrongest possible place. And I looked around and nobody was with me, and I thought about the life that I could continue to try and build for myself in New York. And that doesn't mean I'll never live there again, or I'll never have a life there again. But it certainly was, for that time, for that moment, the thing that I needed to feel. It was that negative feeling that had always kind of been nagging, that dark shadow feeling. But I bring a lot of light. I have the positivity. I have the glass half full attitude. And I have a lot of gratitude. So those things actually had kept me pushing the shadow thoughts aside. And it wasn't until I was really alone with them, alone with all of the shadow thoughts, and there really wasn't anything else, that I felt how heavy that weight was, and I felt how dangerous it really was. For someone like me, who's so connective, who's so ingrained in my friends' lives and them in mine, I felt really disconnected and really just totally by myself. And I thought about the people that I wanted around me in that moment, and I was like, well, Stephanie Bako, Katie Wallace, Fanny Dunnigan, Lindy Chapman, a couple of Kyles. I mean, I thought about the people who were here in Dallas, Erin Hennig. There's a list like 100 people long. And I went through them in my head, and I was like, just like, if I could even see one of these people. So I texted Stephanie, and I said, remember when I said maybe eventually I'll come to Dallas? And she said, yeah, what's up? And I said, well, what about tomorrow? And she didn't even it was over text, but she didn't blink an eye, she didn't bat an eye, she just texted back, come on by, your room's ready, you got the key, you have a bathroom, you have a room. And she welcomed me into her home. And I had met her in the comment section of somebody's post on LinkedIn. That was the kind of people who were here, ready to help me make this my home. Rachel Chang was like, I have 5 companies to introduce you to. Here are people who should meet you. And everybody rallied, and they wanted me there. And before my plane even landed, I had a whole community to go to, and it felt like moving from the shadow to the light. If I go back and I track my feelings and I take inventory of what my experience was, it was that kind of a change. And I think no wonder when I moved into what felt light for me, no wonder that's when things started really taking off for me.
I just love the synchronicity, and how amazing that is. That, you can meet somebody. LinkedIn is just such an amazing community that you can meet somebody and so quickly become, friends, and it just...
look what happened with you and me.
I know, we clicked right away.
You were one of those people that I had a sense of urgency for, not because I felt like you weren't where you were supposed to be, but because I felt that you were. And I needed to be around even more people like us, you know, like you. And I looked at your profile, and you had said something specifically about women who kind of make the most of things and accept what they think is the best they're going to get, even though they have this nagging feeling that they're called for more. And I thought, is she talking to past Lila? Like, where were you all of that time? I thought, this is exactly where I was. The words that you had written were like a letter captured in time, that if I could send it back to 3 years ago me, 4, 5, 10 years ago me, I just would have felt so relieved. And so I felt very passionate about you and about as many women and men, or, you know, whoever as possible, but especially women, because I think that we are kind of conditioned to accept things and to be the ones to make things positive, to be the ones to make it happen in the background, to show up for everybody else, to nurture, to support in that way. And we leave ourselves out a lot. And I thought, if I can in any way help this woman, you, to get your message out there, or to help other people find it, then they don't have to have the years of dissatisfaction and shadow thoughts that I had, that they can just go right into their light. Because you make it really obvious. You make it really obvious talking to you about, oh, well, this thing happened today. Do you think that's a sign? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a sign. What do you think it means? Well, like, oh, if you think it means that, it's probably because you want it to be that, don't you? I'm like, well, yeah. It's just so easy for you. Why do you think it comes so easily for you?
It's just part of who I am. It's what lights me up inside, you know, just the way that you are, in how you describe, and just how gifted I know that you are in communication and in connecting people with each other. It just feels like that. It just feels really natural. And I want to talk about that for a second, because, and you and I have talked about this before as well, is that a lot of times the greater work that we're meant to do, the biggest impact that we can make on others and in the world, is by doing what feels natural to us. And we often discount that.
Yes, right, because we don't feel the struggle.
Yeah.
How can it be valuable if it's not a struggle? And people even say, oh, when it's hard, you'll appreciate it even more once you've gotten to the other side of the hard stuff. Oh my gosh, why? Right. Why will we appreciate it more when we have finished something that is hard? Why can't we give ourselves credit? Why can't we appreciate the impact that we make when it's easy for us? If it's really not about us, if it's really about the impact that we make, if we care more about the impact that we make than our own ability to achieve something hard, then our impact will be so much bigger. We don't have to spend time doing the things that are really hard for us. My friend Kurt Mercadante, do you know him?
I'm familiar with him, yes.
He talks about this. He talks about this a lot. He's got a freedom club, and he helps the people who he works with also to find what are those strengths. You know, I think he does work with StrengthsFinder. What are those strengths that superpower you? And how can you take yourself out of this prison, wherever you are, whatever that means to you, and stop doing the things that you hate doing just because you like to feel accomplishment. We should be able to feel the accomplishment, even if it's easy. It's still an accomplishment. And then we can make things that are challenging, but within those strengths, we're able to achieve so much bigger, so much bigger in our goals and our actions when we are using our strengths instead of our less strong strengths.
Absolutely. And there are so many people out there, right, that are not in alignment with the work that they're doing, and the work they're doing isn't in alignment with their values. And that's one of the things that I am so beyond passionate about, especially being on the LinkedIn platform, is to just sing from the mountaintops. You know, our spirituality, our deepest values are not separate from our job.
No, because we bring them there. They're in us.
Yes.
If we're sitting at a desk, then so are our values sitting at that desk. Right there in our heads and our hearts.
Yes.
Your spirit.
Yes, and everybody deserves to have work that is in alignment with who they are.
Yeah. Most people.
I think all people, but
you're nicer than I am.
I just have this grand vision of the world, you know, everybody.
I love it. I think you're
together.
Exactly as big as it is.
I love it. I see it all the time.
I know you do. The things that you see are a strength of yours, right? That you have the ability to see the bigger picture and the bigger picture.
Yeah, I've been playing with the strengths assessment. I don't know if I told you that, but connectedness is my number one.
That's exactly, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, it's my number one.
So for people listening or watching who don't know, connectedness is when we feel that we have a very strong sense and we're able to very quickly tell what all of the pieces are and how they go together in service of like something very big, like the universe, like God, like society, like whatever it is that's the biggest. We see all of the little pieces and how they fit together. And what's so special about whatever you bring being exactly what God needed or what was meant to be for you to be there in that moment. So people with connectedness, they feel these things. They see the bigger picture and they're called to help other people find their calling because it means so much and because it's just natural to you.
There's nothing I love more, truly. I know that sounds cheesy, but it's so true.
No,
I mean, just
only to a cynic, and I'm not cynical. I'm a New Yorker, but I'm not cynical.
So I have a question. So if for those people out there, right, because there are so many people out there like us where we were a few years ago, they're feeling called to do more. They're feeling like they need to make those changes in their life. What would be the number one piece of advice you would give to that person to help them move forward?
All right, one piece of advice. I would say to start taking inventory of your feelings about things. Just really keep it simple. Does it feel good or does it not feel good? And not feel good can be neutral, can be negative, whatever. But just start figuring out what the things are that feel good, that are definitely a yes for you, with no maybes, no ifs, no ands, nor buts, nor if it was like this. Just look at the things that as you go through a day, ask yourself, what do I like about this moment? What am I bringing to this moment? Who am I connected to in this moment? Which parts of myself? And then see if there's a pattern that emerges. So just getting some self-awareness. I mean, I got mine pretty easily through UMAP. So if somebody wanted to, they could do that. They could get some self-awareness by looking at their UMAP. But even if you just start with your hand on your heart, and I mean, really, literally just like put your hand on your heart and be one with your body and physically breathe into what you're feeling. Ask yourself, because you'll know if something feels good or if it feels disappointing or if it feels icky or if it feels like a waste of time, then you'll know things. Starting with self-awareness is probably the first step. How do I feel? Just ask yourself.
And trusting that.
Ask yourself. Yeah, then that would be the second step. So number one, give yourself permission to ask yourself how you feel. And step two, give yourself permission to trust that. And then talk to Jennifer. Then talk to Jennifer before.
I would love to help you have joy and passion in your life. That's
Work
my
with
passion.
Jennifer before, because she has connectedness as her driver. So she'll see where you fit in the big picture and she'll help you get there too. That's got to be your third step. Trust listen to yourself, trust yourself, and then trust Jennifer.
Trust me, whether it's me or someone else, right? What Kristen Sherry does with UMAP is
Oh, all the UMAP coaches.
It
like,
is
I'm
brilliant, you
certified
know.
UMAP for entrepreneurs, but there are UMAP coaches for every kind of thing. There are UMAP coaches for
Yeah.
career transition. There are UMAP, like Michelle Rademacher. There are UMAP coaches for young people who are in high school or entering college, like Lori Knudsen. There are UMAP coaches for anything that you need. There's a UMAP coach for that, or it's getting.
Yeah, her work is brilliant. And yes, whether it's me or it's Kristen or it's Lori, any number of people, the theme, right, is it's know that you can reach out for support.
Yeah.
That you're not alone. And
have you talked about picking a coach and using your intuition to pick the right one?
What was your question again? Sorry.
Have you ever talked about, and I'm new to your podcast, so I don't know, have you ever talked about how to use your intuition and looking at signs and feeling what you're called to, like how to use that to find the person who's the right coach for you so that you don't get stuck in a situation where, I don't know, you're like bound to the wrong person?
Yeah. As usual, that's a brilliant idea. No, I have not done that.
Okay, well, that's your
that would be a great, yeah, that would be a fantastic conversation, especially to have on LinkedIn too. It would help a lot of people.
I would just listen to you. Even if you just do a video just of yourself, I would listen to just you talking. But maybe talk to Kristen because she has so many different coaches within her network who are now certified UMAP coaches, who are beginning to become certified in the May group of new UMAP coaches who are getting certified. So maybe the two of you, and this is where like my communication and my strategic kind of come together. I'm like,
yeah,
here's the conversation that has to happen. Here are the people, here are the pieces, here's the plan, go do it.
Yeah, they actually do fit together really well. Like I said, I've been dabbling in the strengths assessments and I'm reading Kristen's book, and I help lots of people also love Mondays, which is Kristen's amazing tagline, but I take more of an intuitive approach. I specialize in helping people get in touch with themselves, to peel back the layers of the fear and the doubt and the distrust that have held them back in life, to not change who they are, but to remember who they've always been.
I wish I had met you first, like years ago. I wish that when I were in that dark place that felt very stuck, and I didn't even trust myself about that feeling, I just knew that I had one. And I didn't even know where to look. I didn't even know, is this career satisfaction? Is it because my marriage is having, trouble or ending or whatever it is that's happening? What is it that's making me unhappy? I had no idea. All I knew was that if I look on paper, I have it pretty okay. So I didn't trust that I even had a problem. But I knew that I felt something. It's just that sense, that feeling something. I hope that everybody who's listening, if you're at a place where you feel that something is off for you, talk to Jennifer Spohr, see if she can help you identify where that is for you, which part of your feelings are telling you what you need to know. And then maybe the next step for you is, well, you need to go see a therapist, or, well, maybe you need to go and speak with a health coach, or maybe you need to work with Jennifer Spohr as a career coach. Or maybe you need whatever it is that you need, starting with somebody who can help you identify the ick and see some potential light ahead instead.
The ick. Yeah, that's one way of putting it, the nothingness.
The dark, the shadow times.
Yeah, have you ever seen, there's this, I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but there's this 80s movie called The Never Ending Story.
Oh, have I seen it?
Yeah, so there is this.
I'm not old enough.
So there's this scene, right? There's this scene in the movie where Atreyu is this young boy warrior, right? And he is making his way through the nothingness, and it's weighing him down, and it's dark. And it just reminds me of that time.
Yeah.
Feeling weighed down, feeling like, what's the point? Why am I in this life?
Yep. And you know what happened? Like, why that's really dangerous, because a lot of people who feel that there's no point to them being in this life eventually start having darker suicidal thoughts and feeling like if there's no point to it, then there's no point to it.
Yes. And on that note, there is always a point, and if you're not happy in your life and you're that unhappy, know that there's so many people out there that support you, and know that even if it doesn't feel like it, that you are empowered to make different choices, that you can literally create a different life for yourself.
Yeah. I like going through, we talked about taking inventory of your feelings about things as one way to just get started knowing what that ick is and maybe what that light is. So what's the shadow and what's the light? Just being able to tell the difference first. But there are also things that we can do to take inventory of our life and find proof in it of whatever we want to do next. That's one of my favorite things to help people with in messaging is, oh, you want to do this new thing now? You want to start a business? You want to pitch to investors this restaurant app business. And you have neither app nor restaurant experience. So let me help you find the pieces of your story that connect those dots. What is the thing that you need in restaurants? What is the thing that you need in app development? What are the things that you would do if that were your job? Now let's find how you've done those for your whole life. Because most of the time, things that you're passionate about don't come out of nowhere. They come out of a very long pattern of you doing something that's not that far off from what you're doing now. I've been doing this, telling people how to say things better forever. I've been giving people this kind of advice. I've done marketing consulting. I've been a storyteller, communicator, an actress. I've done all of this stuff in various ways before, just not on purpose the way that I'm doing it. But if I look back and I say, okay, where have I done all of the work that I do as a messaging consultant? And I think about what the actual actions were that I took in the scholarly part of acting when I would look into a script and I would learn things about a character and what would come next and what other people were saying about her, what she was saying about other people, what are the words that she's using, what are the words that she's not using. It's the same thing as the process that I use when I look at brand messaging. And those things are very different as far as like a public perception goes. So it's up to me to tell the story. It's up to me to connect the dots. And that's what I do with content. And that's what I do is I try to like help people understand where I'm coming from. But you have to recognize it for yourself first. So taking inventory of the dots in your life. What have you done that you're proud of? How do you learn things? What do you love? Who do you love being around? What parts of yourself do you like the most? That all of that kind of self-awareness helps you identify what the dots are in your story where those things showed up before. And then you can tell that story in a way that connects to your audience.
And then the next step would be to reach out to you to get their message out into the world. I mean, I have to say, I never can sing your praises enough because you really are so gifted and amazing at what you do. But
Thank you.
I've been at the, investing in myself thing for a while, and I've had lots of different coaches, right? But I was able to get more accomplished with you in a month than I was working with some other coaches for a year, for 6 months.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We are also a good fit, right? Like not everybody wants to work the way that I do. I work really fast and I'm like, okay, what about this? What about this? What about this? And I hear you and I listen and I'm like, okay, hold on. What about that? That thing you just said, that's a whole product. Here's how it's a product. And so that's why an hour at a time with me is kind of most people's limit. We're also such a good fit, you and I, because our energy flows really well. And there are other people who do things like what I do. But I think that you and I have a really good click. And I have a good click with a lot of people because I have woo and communication in my top 2 of my top 5. So that helps. And then developers in my top 5 too. So I can see the small differences and how they make a really big impact if you change things. And also showing people what small things they can do that could make a big impact in their messaging, in their career, if they offer something behind it. And I'm glad that you feel you've gotten so much accomplished. I always feel like it's playtime when I get to talk to you.
Oh, I feel the same. I love talking to you.
I only want to work with people. That's the other thing. So intuition for me as an entrepreneur, I've had now a good amount of clients, and I had one client that kind of felt like that weird ick, and I was feeling like, well, what position am I in to turn down money, right? But that's the worst place to be making decisions from. Money motivated decisions are never the ones that are going to make you happiest, and are not going to make you grow, and they're not going to bring that energy back into your business. So I ended up making a decision, that this was not going to be the right fit, and maybe you want to work with somebody else on this thing, and but since I have made the decision to not just not work with people who I don't want to work with, but to be very purposeful in reaching out and forming relationships with the people who feel really good, not because I think that they're immediately going to be my clients, but because the people who feel really good to me are going to know other people like that. So maybe they'll know the one who's the client. But just spending my time around the people that feel like this, who are so easy to talk to, that I get off the phone after a 14-hour day on the phone, and I feel like, let's go, who's next? I'm ready to go, bring it on. That's how I want to feel every day. I want to only work with Jennifer Spore and people who make me feel like this, the way that you do.
What you're saying, it's so true, because and that's how I know if I'm aligned with somebody too. When I finish speaking with them, I feel uplifted. I feel energized. Even if I've had a very long day and a lot of calls, I still feel excited. So yeah, that's really key. It is about how we feel. So if someone wants to reach out to you and connect with you, where can they find you?
They can email me, Lila, Lila, at saythingsbetter.com. I just freed some of my emails from this quarantine, Proof Point Essentials quarantine. So I'm back in my game at Lila at saythingsbetter.com. You can also just go to saythingsbetter.com, submit a form through the Contact Me form. Or you can go to LinkedIn and find me there. It's Lila Smith, or you can look up the company page for Say Things Better and stay in touch with me. It doesn't have to be a message. It doesn't have to be something you reach out right away, but just go and look at what I've already said. See if any of it resonates with you and can help you without you even having to do any work or pay for anything. Just go see if anything I write in the comments resonates with you. Test me out on your own time. And if you want to, then reach out. I'm here and I would love to talk to you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today and sharing more about you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You definitely make it a safe space to be my whole self.
I love that. Thank you for trusting me. Okay. Thank you, Lila.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.